Like one of my friends was 2 hours long, and then his was like around an hour-ish, and then the last one I did was like an hour 40. The thing is, like, it's like the 2 hour one, we try to push it a little like further, just kind of just see how long we take it.
Yeah.
But usually once you get started, it's kind of like you just start flowing with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, like an hour passed already. Yeah. Like I didn't even realize it. But yeah, dude, this is episode 7, if I get that correct. Yeah, episode 7 of the Blooper Theory. Nice to have you on the show, Joshua.
Thanks, man. It's a pleasure.
What you been up to? I know you were in New York, like yesterday?
Last weekend.
Last weekend.
Yeah, I got back in Monday afternoon. Was there since Thursday morning. Had some meetings via call. So I was like, I'm just going to get in early. It's the cheapest flights. Thursday, Monday, or Tuesday, right? So had some really good meetings. And then had a conference on Friday for this organization called MLT, which is Managing Leaders for Tomorrow, just for diversity, national business talent. I did it in college, and there's like an MBA program and executive program, and there's like 1,300 people just all reconnecting and networking and like going a little crazy in a good way. So it was really good. It's really good. Made some good connections out there.
Was it dealing with the app and business and all that? Or was it separate from that, your trip?
It was separate, but like you kind of represent like who you're with, what company. So like our name tag, it says Guzo on it. So everyone's asking like, what do you do? What do you do? So it's like I told at least 50 new people what I was doing. And then I guess the cohort that I was a part of when I did the career prep, so it's like their college program in 2015 or 2014, I was able to like reconnect with at least 20, 25 people that was in that class with me. So they already know what I'm doing, but it was good to just network and get connections. And it's a huge program in terms of like alumni in it. So the whole play for me was to meet new people, pitch it to a lot of people, of course, reconnect and just establish real relationships. But also it's like, hey, how can we get Guzo to actually help facilitate their group trips once we launch, and just like have that partner and see how we can help them. So that was definitely successful on the next step.
Dude, sounds good to hear, dude.
Plugging and playing.
It's crazy to see how like much like the app has gone, how much you've kind of grown along the way from like, well, I met you last year. Yeah. And just kind of where we were, just kind of figuring stuff out, like just on Instagram to like now, like, God. I know it's kind of separate, but you're still kind of putting the name out there for Guzo and just kind of always, it's one of those things that you never stop thinking about, you know, when you're like doing your own business, even on those like days off, you're kind of like, you know, what can we do here to like, how can we utilize this moment, this relationship here to take it to the next level? Yeah, man, for sure. It's crazy that we were doing something completely different a year ago today and working with you and just building a friendship with you. So it's a lot of lessons that you learn in there, and I guess we're gonna get into that today. So. No, we will. We will. Yeah. For everyone that doesn't know who you are, let's give it a little introduction to what you do, school you went to, whatever you want to give up. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm used to doing this, right? So Joshua Taylor, born and raised in Houston, Texas. Having a good affiliation to Louisiana. So my mom grew up in Baton Rouge, so I always used to go there. Tigers, right? Yeah, go Tigers. Even though I didn't go there. I went to Stephen F. Austin State University, which is in East Texas, Naca nowhere. I studied there, ran track there, had a pretty good life there. Did banking with Wells Fargo for a year and 9 months in Phoenix and in Houston. Got bored, to be honest. I mean, it happens. Yeah, in the meantime, me and my older brother, Gordon Taylor, we started a long-distance ride-sharing company called Cruisin'. We expanded that to 19 universities. A year and 9 months within Wells Fargo. I jumped ship, so I've been full-time entrepreneuring for 28 months now. We realized with the long-distance ride-sharing company, when we met, that trying to expand into a city market instead of a college market was really hard. You had to raise a ton of money, and finding first just the culture of the U.S. versus like Europe, where this is actually happening every day. We're more individuals, and actually finding the right matches going from Houston to Austin or DC to New York is really hard, especially when you think about trust, that we're 3 feet away from each other. Carpooling is really difficult, and to change that habit when you have buses already formulated and other types of transportation like the trains. Really from a vision perspective, really said, hey, we're going to really, our vision was to say, hey, we're going to connect people on all modes of transportation, which sounds great. It kind of sounds like climate change, like, oh my God, we're going to save the planet type of thing, which was cool. But within the travel space, we were trying to solve the mobility issue
But we really looked back and said, hey, there's this thing about a trip and the experience of that trip, more in terms of how it works. So who are we going with, where are we going, and what are we going to do when we actually get there? And how do we optimize that trip to have the best experience? So we really, within our own experiences, said, hey, let's interview a lot of people. So I personally talked to a few hundred people about, hey, when you have a trip, what are the biggest pain points you have? And so long story short, the same thing started to come up around group trips. And that's what we kind of asked towards, but we didn't want it to make it too, we didn't want to lead them down a path. And so long story short, we figured out people getting together for a group trip is really hard to do. To really, what I like to say is pull the trigger. All the elements in terms of scheduling availability, budget, really voting on, hey, where are we going to go? What are our separate but like interest? And all those components to like, hey, make us a synergized great trip. So that's long story short. We really said, hey, this long distance rideshare thing's great, but we want to focus on group travel. And so we changed the company from Cruisin' to Guzo last year, the end of last year. We launched Guzo the end of January this year. Had some crazy ups and downs this year, but now we're at a point to where we're really building a platform that focuses on, hey, if you have any group, 2 or more, how can we help that trip be the best by having a platform and a tool that can actually solve that problem? So that's where we are today.
Dude, I mean, you nailed it on all the stuff. Like, that's probably the best intro we've done.
Yeah, man.
Definitely. You said all the practice you've had.
Yes, I've told that to a lot of people. And when you're living it, it's like you're writing the story.
Yeah.
So you know how, with all the erases you make, and even saying it orally, but also mentally, it's in your head so much. Like you said, you cannot stop thinking about it. Even if you tried to like go on a little vacay. Even though I was in New York for a vacation, it wasn't a vacation. It was like bleisure, right? But it was still on my mind so much. And even, of course, I was pitching it to so many people. Not even pitching it. It was just like, this is who I am. This is what I do. So
that's what I was thinking. It's just such a part of you. Mm-hmm. And like, although you go through all these like hard times, like it's. I wouldn't say there could be worse, like internally. I mean, you know what I mean? Like you could be more unhappy doing something else. So I feel like you guys actually find joy in what you do and the whole process. So yeah, having always thinking about it is something that can never go away, especially when it's like pretty much your baby.
Yeah, it is. And I think I'm learning as a young entrepreneur is just learning how to, I'm silly, but I'm also serious. You probably know that.
Oh yeah.
And so how do you understand that to know the blessings, like the moment of time, and not be thinking so much about where you want to go and accomplishments, achievement. I'm very achievement driven and goal driven. How do you say that? Don't lose the love for what you're doing, and also knowing, because it's my baby, I gotta let my baby grow and understand how to not be so protective of the baby, because it's just an idea.
Yeah.
Right. If you have a good idea, other people are going to try to do it. Or being able to help it develop without babying it so much. You got to let training wheels off sometimes, and be able to test and move quickly and not get in your own self. So that's something I've learned as well.
I mean, yeah, I think what's the craziest part when I first met you was how I think most people have like all these ideas of like, I want to do this, I want to start an app, I want to start a business. And they just kind of let those ideas die, or they never actually step forward and try to do something about the idea. Mm-hmm. So like, it's even crazier that you've gotten to the step already where you've already raised money, you're into like millions, and you're kind of like already like a full-time like actual like startup, you know, because there's a difference between just kind of starting up and then you actually consider like a full startup, especially in the tech kind of app industry. So like what did the idea spark of? I know we've talked about it before, but like that first like Cruisin', where did that idea, like, were you in college? I know your brother was working like what?
He was in
finances, right? Or finance?
Yeah, I was in finance at Wells Fargo and their middle market group. My brother was finishing his last quarter at University of Chicago. He's in Booth, getting his MBA at their School of Business. And it was like the beginning of 2016. It actually sparked from my brother, Gordon. He was actually thinking about, I already knew inside for some long prayer and just thinking, like, I was like, Gordon's coming back to Houston. He didn't know that. So I knew that in 2015. He was like, I'll be in in Chicago doing private equity, because he did private equity full time and business school full time. So that last quarter, he's like, I'm going to move some stuff back from Houston. So he rented a car. It cost like $363.17.
Know it to the dot.
Yeah, I have a good memory. So he drove from Chicago to Houston. That took like 18 hours. But if you do it the second day, it would have been like $1,000, right? So he was like, he saw, basically, long story short, he saw all these people going the same way as him. He's like, man, like, we're all doing these one car. Like, why can't we share this? At least, even if someone stopped in St. Louis, right, we could share some of this cost, but also, like, we can go together. I was just in New York, and just being able to have transportation where I didn't have to drive, or we could all go together. And even I shared a lift with this other couple, because I was with a friend. Like, this couple got in, and I was like, man, this was like, it was different, because I hadn't done that in, like, since I was in Chicago.
Actually, I've never been in an Uber with a shared one.
It's cool. It's like whatever. It's not a big deal, but it's just the habits, right? The unfamiliarity.
Yeah.
So basically, off that long distance trip, my brother took by himself chugging Red Bulls. He's like, man, there's something out of this. And so, being a little brother, I was like one of the first person he told. And so, I was my interest was getting into the hedge fund space and investment management. So that was more focus. But I was always like on the side helping Gordon out, and just believing in him, believing in the vision. And long story short, I like started to fall in love with us just doing something. I mean, in 2012, I knew me and my brother would do something together. Thought that would be finance related, but here we are today. So it was more a part of him having that initial concept initially when he was in B school, because in business school, that's like you're around all these talented people.
Were you guys just always interested in like the finance world and the business school, even in college? Was there like from high school to college, did you kind of know already what direction you guys wanted to go to, or was that something that you guys had to like find out along the way?
Oh, I think some people already know and that's a very small population that knows what they're going to do, and they have this path. For my brother, we're 4 grades apart. So when he was going into college, I was going into high school, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So he said, I remember him telling me he knew his freshman year he wanted to go to like Kellogg, which is Northwestern's business school. He's like, I want to do this path. He knew the NBA, because he played basketball at Texas. He's like, he knew he wouldn't want to chase that, really. For me, I ran track in college. Like, I was blessed to be very successful, multiple-time All-American. And that was just kind of how I was. Like, that was my life, right? I was blessed to be like an academic All-American too. But it was like, I wanted to go professionally at that. So I knew like business was a thing, after all that, but it wasn't really the focus. So just for me, I was blessed to have an older brother to say, hey, I know like B school is an option, all these things. And I was like, oh, if I don't go to Harvard or Stanford, Wharton, Booth, like it doesn't matter, right? And so I kind of had that role model ahead of me. But for me, track was like that love and that passion that I really had. So it was more like, the dots just aligned for us. It wasn't really a thought. And my brother, like I said, in 2016, he thought he would be doing private equity until like the idea just kind of sparked in his head just through life experiences. And I had those same experiences as well. And that's why I resonated with it, because I would be going to Dallas a lot, traveling, whether it was for work or just to visit friends. And I was alone. I was like, dang, this would really help me as well. So.
I mean, yeah, that Dallas trip is terrible. Yeah. Like, it's a 4-hour drive, and then I used to do it quite often because I had some work up there with some friends. Every once in a while, they used to tell me, "Hey, we got a shoot out here if you want to come," and I would be like, "Yeah, I mean, why not?" I mean, it wasn't like a tremendous amount of money, but I was like, it was something. And I mean, it's just those kind of sacrifices. Like, you got to drive up there. Like, all right, let's do it. And yeah, it's like a 4-hour drive, and I used to just kind of like. I was like, I'm the kind of person that like I need someone to talk to, like in the car. Like, like my girlfriend gets so mad at me all the time because she loves to hear like music in the car while we're like driving, and like I don't hate listening to music in the car, but like I'd rather like be talking. Yeah, and like there's always like collision between that, and then like for example like late at night, like I'm terrible at like driving and like not falling asleep, like it can get really dangerous, right? Yeah. And what's it called? But like I can do anything. I can drink Monsters, Red Bulls, punch myself in the face. Like I've done some extreme stuff, but like if I'm like once the sun is down and I can see that it's dark and it's like past, I don't know if it's a mental thing too. It's like past like 11ish, 12 p.m. already. You're already into like past midnight. Like I don't care what I do, like unless I'm like really entertained by something, like I tend to like start like dozing off. I've noticed like the podcast kind of help, or like I've been keeping up with all the NBA stuff, so like that kind of helps as well with Kawhi. Who knows what he does, but like but if I can be talking to somebody, like I'll last all night. Yeah, like no problems at all. So yeah, I definitely like. That's just how I work. Like I need someone to like be constantly like talking to, but like at the same time, like I haven't done let's say someone I have never met before.
Yeah, that was the biggest hurdle, just because of the U.S. culture. We believe it'll get there eventually, but there's a whole another topic, another podcast. So we'll stay away from that for now.
Yeah, I mean, for example, when I went to Hawaii, like this was the first time I ever stayed in someone's home that like they were still like living there, and like it was a private room. Like usually I'll rent out the entire apartment or the entire house just because why not? It's like it's a lot, you just feel a lot, I guess not safer, but like you're more free, you do whatever you want. And then so that was the first time I ever like experienced that, and honestly I didn't mind it at all. Like I got there, the lady was there. I think her husband wasn't even there. She greeted me and then showed me where the room was. And then after that, she kind of did her own thing. And then I was upstairs just in one little room. And honestly, it literally just served as like somewhere to sleep for the whole time. So that was like kind of my first experience with like being around other people that I've never been around and trying to interact with them. Although I didn't do too much interaction. But when I did, it was just kind of like, what's up? Yeah. So then cruising started. You guys launched that. How was the process of going from like an idea to actually we have an app already? Was it you went through the just get an LLC first, to get the team first together? Was there like, did you have to raise money? Did you guys already have kind of money saved up? What's the process of like taking that idea to like actually launching it? A first like version of it?
Yeah. Oh goodness. So everybody's story is a little different. So I'll just tell our story. So initially in the beginning of 2016, we did a pilot at University of Chicago, Northwestern, and UC Davis. And so the great thing about it was us not being developers. We had my brother had business school friends that had an app that was similar, but it was for students commuting in the city. And so basically we use it for the long distance travel part, and we did really good in the pilots. Like kids are really using it that quarter, spring of 2016. So we're like, oh, like that's when my brother was like convinced like this is something. And so from there, he'd actually was supposed to go to, my brother lived in Africa in 2015 and 2013 and 14 before business school. So it was like, oh, he's supposed to go to Africa and back to do private equity. And that was kind of like the dilemma for him, like, oh, I've already done this. And I was like, dude, let's just do this. While I was still full-time at Wells Fargo, by the way. And so from that pilot, we said, hey, over the summer, let's like figure out what we're really going to do, because Gordon's going to move back. And we had to make some upgrades in the technology to really enhance the product and make it more for the long distance and for the matching part. So from that part, we really said, hey, let's do market research. So kind of a creative thing we did said football games, right? College football is huge in the U.S. Let's actually go to these football games, go to these tailgates, and survey people. So long story short, going to a lot of SEC, Big 12 games, we got over 3,000 surveys of questions of seeing like, would this work? And we got all this data. It was so awesome. Throwing the tent up, going crazy with the fans, but really seeing that, man, like there's a potential need for this. And I think we learned a lot about how accurate or inaccurate surveys could be.
Oh yeah, I've heard a lot about
but I think just learning how to get data and just be customer facing, understand customers. I mean, I was 23 when we were doing that. And so I learned a lot from that experience, but really it gave us some type of validation at least that, hey, this is a need. And I still think it could work in the US. It's just that habit barrier is so big, and that the US isn't built for it yet. And so like I think there will have to be some big changes for it to happen, or a platform that can do it the right way. Obviously we didn't do it. So That was how we started. We found at that time we had a contract developer to help us get to that next level. Then in 2017, we said, hey, we want some full-time people. We got a guy, a real scrappy way. We kind of looked at all the collegiate graduation lists and we said, hey, who are the like most talented people? And so we got our first full-time software engineer through that. We eventually contracted someone else, and they became full-time throughout the process. So we had a small dev team.
Yeah.
And we've had like transitions with our team throughout, just figuring it out. That's a whole nother story. But that's kind of how we started. And then we just, we launched at the end of 2016, beginning of 2017. We did rides. We did more rides. It was really up and down. We learned a lot of lessons in 2017, since that's when I went full time. That first week of March when I quit Wells Fargo. So we learned a lot in 2017, just trying to figure out, really going through the storm of like figuring it out. And I think that year, and even 2018 really helped us. I guess I think I just learned a lot of lessons. Like, we can go through the whole tape, but it really was just like, I think the biggest lesson I learned with cruising was learning how to fail quickly and learn fast. And really be like sure that what you think is right, because a lot of the times it's not. And really understanding like what customers are really saying, not what you think they're saying. Because a lot of times they're just being nice, or they don't understand the problem you're trying to solve or the value you're trying to bring to them. So I think, like while the college markets would work, I think the biggest mistake we made was going too far too fast. So we had 19 universities. A lot of those universities were small penetration.
Yeah.
Right. We should have started with one market initially, killed it there, then went to 3, then went to 5, and took the long approach. I still don't believe long distance rideshare in the U.S. is there yet. But that was, I think, the biggest lesson I learned in terms of like execution of the strategy, one, to implement. Secondly, I think team is like the biggest thing. Like every company, every family, anything with 2 or more people is about the people, right? Even within yourself, it's about how you operate in this life, in this game of life, and how well you do it, right? So I think that was a big thing that I had to learn as a young person, growing up, still young, but that was really big. And then just like like moving fast and moving efficiently was big. So,
dude, yeah. I mean, do you think the reason like ride sharing is it like a cultural thing? You think like with Americans, or is it more like a kind of human thing that's just? 'Cause I mean, if you think about it, like America is made up of a ton of cultures, a ton of people, and usually when you step outside the U.S., you go to Europe, it's very multicultural, it's very different. So you think it's very like an American kind of mentality?
I think it's a Western thing, because we're the only country, and even we can get political or whatever here, but just all the things that's been happening the last 5-6 years in the U.S., even longer, 10 years in the U.S. with just the hostility, our tension. I think it's just like no one in the U.S., no one in the world is doing what the U.S. is doing in terms of meshing everybody together. And now it's being accelerated and exposed a lot more. So I believe we're a young country. I don't believe we are a young country, and no one has done what we've done or doing what we're doing. So I think it's a part of that. You know, it's like when a family's going through a hard time, you're like, I think, oh crap, everything's about to break down. This family's done, whatever, divorce, it's over. But it's just like, if you can get through those hard times, whether it's in a company or a nation, because a nation is an entity, it's made up of people. And so I think that's a part of why it's hard for me or you or this person that's from like India or something to just relate, because it's just unfamiliarity, right? I think that's the biggest thing. It's just unfamiliarity and the willingness to do that. But also, I mean, there is a lot of crazy things that go on in the world, not just the U.S. Like if I'm 3 feet away from you for 3 hours or 90 miles, that could be a little frightening for some people, which makes sense.
Yeah. No, dude, I agree. I think with like you were just saying, like it's like a whole family, goes through a lot of stuff, and I mean, if you think about it, we've definitely been like on like a massive acceleration from like what we started, just say 1600s. I forgot my history, but like, you know, around that time. And then we fast forward like 400 or 500 years, whatever, like we've increased like exponentially. So my thing is kind of like one of those, like, I think like everything that goes too fast eventually hits a pitfall. You know, you have to like, has to even out this exponential line. And I think like, as far as like maybe ride sharing, like that's something that could be exposed, because it's you're dealing with multicultural people that have to be comfortable with like being together at especially like a single spot in time. You know, so like I can see how that would make that collision between people. So then you guys you launched it. You know, you went through all the struggles, made the team, and then you guys released it, right? You guys released Cruising for a while, and then what was that? What was that like once you guys released it?
So we operated Cruising from the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, through basically basically fall 18. And so when we hit that, and we were focused on, hey, let's try to still focus on the colleges, because we had no presence at University of Houston and Rice. We said, since these are our focus was rural schools. So we said, hey, let's focus on schools in a city, but also see if we could actually launch in a city-wide. Not really wide, but focus on parts of the city.
Was there a reason you guys targeted schools first? Or is it just this big congregation of people there?
Yeah, you're a certain amount of miles out from a city, so think University of Alabama. You're like an hour and a half to 2 hours from Atlanta. And then you're like 50 minutes from Brenham, which kids go there on the weekends and stuff like that for groceries or just to hang out and stuff like that. Think about Sam Houston State University. It's in Huntsville. It's about an hour and a half away from Houston. You got about 45 minutes from the Woodlands, things of that nature. So it made a lot more sense. Very seasonal, because kids go home for the summer, like right now. But it was made a lot more sense because a lot of kids don't have cars. It's about a little over 50% to like high 40s that kids from cars to not cars. So the two-sided marketplace was there, which marketplaces are really hard. On the city side, it's like I'm already in the city. If I'm at Rice or U of H, I'm already in the city. I'm not leaving the city that much to go home or go to a game or go to a concert, because most things you're doing are right in the city. But we said, hey, let's do it. And focus on that city, because hey, in the Golden Triangle, the Triangle, Texas Triangle, whatever you call it, that's happening all the time, right? But as we found out, it was just really hard for us to tackle, and I think, really long story short, Cruising helped us find Guzo. It helped us find the real problem to solve, and something more specific, but also grandiose as well.
So then once you launched you launched Cruising, you guys were out for a little bit. I remember you guys, that's when you guys reached out to me. I think Omar was working with you guys there for that summer.
Summer 18.
Then we began working together just to see how we can probably utilize like social media or like create content around Cruising. Remember we had the dog.
Yeah, oh my god.
You guys still have it?
We still have Tom Cruise in the garage. He's sitting there melting right now. But man, we were just trying anything to make it work.
And you were in charge of not the actual development, but like the outreach, or what's your particular role again?
Yeah, so really just growth.
Just growth in general.
Growth, marketing, brand. Really more now focusing on the brand part. So with Guzo, of course, being focused on travel, like how do we create a brand that people can resonate with, these groups, these people. So yeah.
So what were your initial like ideas as far as like branding? That's kind of where I met you, and that's where like a lot of the stuff that I really enjoy, kind of like what I usually do all the time, is like in branding. I know we were going through like plenty of ideas like of what to do, like keeping up with like trends, hopping on like TikTok, like Instagram, creating its own page. Was there something like some crazy stories or anything in particular that you guys were trying everything during those times?
We were just trying everything, man, because I think we weren't hitting product market fit. We were just trying to figure it out, and I was new in marketing and branding and what all this means.